Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind creation Miss Couture, and today is another Color Wheel Monday, the series in which I make my way through color theory one color at a time. In this series we've been working one color at a time, all the color wheels. So we've done the primary colors, now we're doing the secondary colors and we're almost done them. And if you are interested to catch up to the series, if you haven't watched any other episodes, there is a full playlist entitled Color Wheel Monday. So without further ado, we're going to be adding Brilliant Orange to the Kelly Green. Get into this? And we're back for another episode of Color Wheel Monday, the series in which I make my way through color theory one color at a time. And we're almost done Kelly Green, and I'm super excited about that because I really don't like Kelly Green so far. It's been very sad. So today we're going to do Kelly Green with Blazing Orange. I think that we're going to get brown, and I think it's going to be very pretty brown for like fall period, autumn. I think it's going to be nice. So the first thing we're going to do is our stock solution. What is a stock solution? It is like the liquid form of our dye, basically. It's a concentrate of your dye. So we want to do a 1% stock solution. So it's 1%, so 1 gram per 100 milliliter of water. We're going to do a little bit more of the Kelly Green because I still have a few episodes to film. Two more after this one. So we will do maybe 300 milliliters. So we're going to measure 3 grams for 300 milliliter of water. And we're going to do 1% stock solution of Blazing Orange. So 1 gram for 100 milliliter. And from those stock solutions, sky's the limit with what you can do. I always like to work with fresh stock solution. So that's why usually I measure the day of. But if you're going to be working with older stock solution, like try to use it within the same week maximum, and always make sure to shake well your container before doing anything, because the dye have a tendency to have the sediment deposit at the bottom of your container. So just keep that in mind. So before we do our stock solution, we need to make sure that we grab our respirator. It doesn't have to be the specific brands. Just make sure that you will not be breathing the fine particles of the dye, because we only have one pair of lungs, so please protect them. So, ow, my head. Oh! Okay, almost there. And always make sure to adjust your respirator so it fits nicely onto your face. Okay, there we go. And always make sure before doing anything that your scale is at 0, so that way you will be precise as possible, and it will be easier to repeat colors if you have a scale and that there's a good precision. I believe I have that scale on my Amazon storefront if you want the same one, because you want a scale that will be precise to the 0.01. I don't usually have that much problem with my scale, but I don't know. What is wrong with you, little scale? And some dye are more fine than others, and will be either lighter or they will be heavier. So that's why I prefer to measure in grams, because I feel like it's more precise. First of all, it is more precise. If you're going to be using just like tablespoon or teaspoons, you won't have the same amount of dye every single time, first of all. It's just because sometimes you will put more into your tablespoon or your teaspoon by accident. So that's another reason I prefer to use the scale. So I can be as precise as possible to be able to repeat my colorway as closely as possible. Okay, well, we'll call it go. Okay, so now that we've measured our dye, we're going to add our liquid. And we want to have the liquid, now that it's actually liquid, we can remove our respirator. So we want to have the liquid hot enough that it will help dissolve the pigment in the dye, because it happens that you get clumps and we don't want clumps. We want precision. So I'm just going to fill it up to my 300 milliliter line. Okay, so we're just going to move this and we're going to grab our mason jars. Perfect. So the way we're going to do it with our Dharma Trading Co. dyes, we are going to do 1% depth of shade for the Kelly Green in each of the mason jars. So it will be 10 milliliter of our stock solution. Sorry, because we're using 10 gram mini skeins. And then after that, with the blazing orange, we are going to do we are going to do from 0.05% depth of shade to a 1% depth of shade. Ha. So that way we can see the interaction between the dye. And like I said, I'm fairly certain that we're going to have brown at the end, which I'm not mad about, because that would be pretty much the only time we've had brown in this series so far, is when we've mixed orange and green adjacent colors. So that would be fun if we had a nice fade of brown. Oh, maybe when we did, which other color we did that we pretty much had brown, but it was just for like a few of the transition colors. I don't remember. Okay, so we're going to do our blazing orange in here. So 0.05 millimeter, 1, 2.5 milliliter. Now we're going to go with 5 millimeter, 7.5 millimeter for our 0.75% depth of shade, and finally 10 milliliter for our 1% depth of shade. There we go. And I'm already green, which is quite funny. There's a few colors like that if you're working with it, you're just going to, no matter what you do, you will have that color on you. So green and blue are usually those colors. Don't tell me that we won't see anything. It all looks It all looks green. No, we can't have another green video. Please. No, I don't. I don't want that. I can't stand this color now. That's annoying. Oh no. Okay, well, we haven't put any citric acid yet, and we haven't put any like heat source on it. So no. It can't be like that. Please don't be like that. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. I need to I need faith that we will have at least one of the color that won't be green. And here I thought that we would have a nice shade of brown. We might still have a chance at browns. We might. Oh gosh. Good thing I kept this one for last, because I think I would have been discouraged if we did it earlier in this series. Because, like, what do you mean it's all green? I can't believe it's all green. It's just like different shades of green. No. Oh my goodness. It's just like a darker brown green. It's not even brown. I was so convinced we would have browns. Oh no. Oh well. We'll live. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in the double boiler. Okay, so we're going to turn on the heat right now because it will take a little while for the water to reach the right temperature. We're going to also wait like 10-15 minutes before we're going to be adding our citric acid. So I will see you in 15. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. So we can add our citric acid now. So rule of thumb when it comes to citric acid, it's usually like 1 tablespoon per 454 grams. So 1 pound of fiber and or yarn. In this case, we have only 10-gram mini skeins. So what we do is like 1/4 of a teaspoon. That's what we can do. This is quite disappointing to see how green everything is still. So the water is not quite at the right temperature. We want it to be between 85 to 95 Celsius for the color to properly set. So we're going to wait for the water to get a higher temperature, and then from that point, we're going to do 30 minutes of cooking on the stove before turning off the heat. So I will see you in a little bit. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes since we've reached the right temperature, and we have a hint of color, which I was expecting. Both colors take longer to strike anyways, so we're just going to turn it off, let it cool off completely before we can wash any excess dye. So I will see you later. Okay, so we are going to be washing off our excess dye from our experiment, and I already know we are going to have bleeding simply because it's Kelly green, and I'm so sad because it's still green. It's not even it's just darker shade of greens. I'm a little sad. So we're going to let this soak for like 10-15 minutes to remove as much dye as we can, and we're gonna come back and see. Okay, now the question is, how much bleeding do we have? Quite a bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it soak for another 10 minutes. But it's most likely going to be my last soak, because with this specific color, we most likely will always have a little hint of color in the water. So we're just gonna work with what we have. And yeah, I will see you in 10. Okay. So we still have color in the basin, but it's one of those situations where I don't have a choice. So I'm just going to put this in the spin dryer and we're going to let it dry overnight, and I will see you tomorrow for the final result. I wanted to show you how much color we still have in the mason jars, and that is because it's Kelly green. Sometimes it's not the most friendly dye that we have to work with. So it's so fascinating how here we barely see we can see the color, but when we're above we can actually see the entire, like, the how strong the color is in the water. So anyways, we're going to see the final result in a few seconds now. And here's the final result of adding the blazing orange to our Kelly green. So basically nothing really changed besides making it like slightly warmer than before. Kelly green has been a beast. It is now the master of all nation. And be careful when you're using it. That's all I can tell you, because this color is just very overpowering, unfortunately. So I don't really have much to say besides, like, they're all green. They're just all different shades of green and slightly darker or not. Yeah, so that was very fun. Not. And so we're almost done with this series, which is it's a little sad when I think about it, but it's fine. So if you like this series, there's an entire playlist on the channel with it. And if you liked the video, please consider sharing, linking, and subscribing, and I'll see you next one very soon. Bye!